Welcome, everybody, to the Wrestling Fans Inside podcast. I'm one of the co-hosts today, Bryan, the Hype, Ballard, and with me is Carlos. Carlos, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Good to be here. Happy Sunday to everybody. Happy if you're drafting today for fantasy football, which I am after we do this broadcast. Happy fantasy football day too. It's good. It's a fun time. Fun time to be a sports fan.
It is. We do have John, Will, and Heather out. We wish them the best where they are on Sunday. Whenever I hear that music in the beginning, man, even if I'm a little tired, that music in our intro, it just gets me all jacked, right?
It hypes up the hype man.
like I was like doing the spreading the arms, like I'm doing a WWE entrance as the countdown happens. So
nice.
We wanted to kind of talk a little bit today. We want to talk about, a little bit about Edge. So, kind of stay tuned for that today, guys. We got Edge talking about Edge on the program in his final match. We want to also talk a little NXT previews, predictions, and keep our yearly competition that's going on over at the fansofprowrestling.com to check us out over there. And that is actually going to continue with these predictions this week. And the team, we all kind of compete against each other for fun. So, Carlos, wherever we want to start today, I'll kind of let you kind of go.
So yeah, sorry, I'm fading in now. So let's start with just start with the overall. What your overall thoughts on for the WWE product that you saw for this week? What were your give a 2-minute thought about the WWE product for this week for what you saw?
All right, for me, it was weird, right? Because it feels like there's always such a long day between Monday Night Raw and Sunday Takedown here with us, right? And so I always have to like refresh myself through the week. But NXT stuck out for me, and I really honed in on that product this week, which we'll get into here later with the predictions. But I like how they did the setup with Wesley getting his win over Dijak to get a title shot here this week. And then on SmackDown, I didn't see as much of that, but I do know Edge had his matchup with Sheamus, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So that's kind of something we wanted to get into. What were some of your key thoughts this week?
It's funny. I know you weren't on the show with us last week, but to me, I feel like NXT is the best brand in WWE right now, and it's not so much about the like, oh my gosh, these are like the greatest matches ever or anything like that. It's just they're doing a really good job of utilizing their time. And it's like, and for me, like, it's a show that I want to give my time to or whatever like that, because it's like, and I think that it deserves more praise because they just do a good job of like, kind of like old school, like WWE, like Raw during the Attitude Era, where they're just trying to get as many guys on TV as possible. You're going to get like 8 matches usually during the 2-hour period time. And that's more matches than you even get on 3 hours of Raw. So again, for me, it's a lot of good things. The thing for me about the product is I feel like it's just you see so much tribalism, and as far as what I mean by that is, we'll talk about this on our other show later. But like AEW's been getting a lot of flack. Oh, this build up for All In hasn't been good and blah blah blah. And it's like WWE has a pay-per-view coming up called Payback, and we've yet to get even one match of what's going to happen yet. And that's just something I miss, from the old times, is kind of building up to, like, okay, who's going to be the number one contender for, Rollins, and who's going to be this and that, and I feel like maybe they're in a holding pattern because of Kevin Owens being hurt, but they should have just addressed that more. So it just kind of feels kind of just like, I'm really excited for Chad Gable. I think he's somebody who deserves a singles push. And I like that. I like the whole thing with Edge. They even on Raw, on SmackDown, they did a whole tribute to him. They had different wrestlers talking about him, and then their match got a lot of time. So I think that was just a smart move for them, especially with no Bloodline on there. Because that's kind of what I'm looking for on SmackDown, is seeing who's going to take, who's going to, like Vince would say, who's going to grab, like the golden grapefruit or whatever they used to say. I forget what they used to say, the brass ring. Yeah, who's going to grab the brass ring while Roman's gone? Who's going to take, who's going to take advantage of that? Who's going to go after that? I'm interested to see where it's going. So there's a lot of good storylines, but for me, I just want to see more build up to Payback going on.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. One thing I noticed, you mentioned about NXT, and it's interesting because they do take a smaller approach to it, but there's a good blend from opening to close on, hey, cool, an in-ring segment, a wrestling match, a backstage segment, a preview for an upcoming hype for a pay-per-view, and so, or PLE. And so that's one of those things that, I do think it's more of a programming, but it does have its up and down versus just kind of a big long segment throughout the show. And it has a theme for the night. And I like that.
Yeah, and it doesn't linger. Like, you don't sit there and go, okay, like this is 30 minutes, it's like, it just like they realize what they have in the 2 hours. And I feel like that's one thing like I appreciate about AEW is like, I feel like when you're watching it, it's almost like you're watching it as a live fan. And to me, like, that's something that I think about, like, even like I'm supposed to go to SmackDown at the end of September, and I'm already dreading it because I'm like, oh my God, there's gonna be so much lag time and it's gonna just drag. And it's like, but I just want to go because it is SmackDown, but it's like, I feel like with NXT, they do a good job of not doing that. Like you're gonna get your bang for your buck, even though the fans in there get it for free, but like you're gonna be entertained for the whole time. And I think that's something that they should really try to look at all the shows with. Not like you can still be a produced well-oiled machine without feeling like one. And that's something I would challenge them to do on SmackDown and Raw, is to make it feel more like you're playing to the fans there instead of just being overly produced for television.
So I have a curious question. I'd be interested in anybody listening really kind of giving the answer, but I want to ask you, since we're talking about out of any of the shows, and I'm just going to say out of Monday Night Raw, NXT, and then SmackDown, out of the WWE brand shows, which one, when you watch it after it's recorded, do you fast forward the most through right now?
Oh, WWE Raw, without a doubt.
Yeah, Raw's mine too. I was going to agree. For me, that is the most fast forwardable show. And I watch it, but then I'm just like, let's move ahead a little bit. And then I'm like, oh, I want to see what this is.
Yeah. And for me, like, and I'll be honest too, so like, because I work every Friday night, and right now we've been up until 11, so I get off at 11:30, and I watch Rampage first when I get home, and so I'll watch Rampage first because to me it's like, I know for that, again, we're talking about AEW, but it is what it is. Like, I know if that whole I know that whole hour is gonna be action packed, so I'm gonna like go through that first. Like, if there's a match I'm gonna fast forward, like I'm gonna fast forward. And like for me, like I try to like turn off the TV, like at least to go to bed by like 1:30 in the morning. So like, let's say I get home at like 11:20, and I'm watching Rampage, and let's say I watch 45 minutes of it. I'm gonna time out. Okay, if I got an hour and 15 minutes to watch SmackDown, there might be times I'm gonna fast forward it, but at the same time, like, that's just, that for me, that's one thing for me. It depends on the time of it. But for Raw, I definitely, there's too much filler for Raw. And to me, like, you have the roster, and for me, the thing I like to see out of those shows too is, like, for me, like, since they're both on the USA Network, Raw and NXT, have corporate synergy, like have some, like proving ground matches. Like, there's so much they could be doing that they're not doing. And that's to me, like, if you're not going to give me every superstar on TV every week, then the show shouldn't feel like filler, and that's what it does. And that's one thing I would challenge WWE to quit, to quit making it feel like filler and make it feel like it has to be must-see television.
No, I agree 100%. And you mentioned, especially with the superstars, let's talk about the rated R superstar, and let's go ahead and talk about Edge in his final matchup. I know I did a little transition for us there, but let's get into that segment.
So Edge had his last match for WWE. The week before, he came out and kind of, and if people remember a year ago, he talked about wanting to finish his WWE career in Toronto. And it's just so happened, that they were going to be there. And it's his last match for his contract. So, the storyline was really good because, if everyone remembers, it was when he was bike riding with Sheamus on Sheamus's YouTube channel, and he biffed it, he ate dirt. And he kind of got up, and he didn't feel any kind of pain from it. And it was at that moment that Edge realized that he might be able to come back. It's like, if I fell down like that, if I took a big dive like that, and I'm waking up with not feeling any pain, maybe I should be testing this out. So Sheamus was kind of the catalyst to Edge coming back. So they did a thing where Edge was like, he never really fought Sheamus one-on-one, and he wanted to end his career with Sheamus there. So it was a really cool thing. And SmackDown was kind of all dedicated to him. They kind of, they had tributes from different WWE superstars, current and past. And then they had the match. So I guess to me, like, I have a question for you, just because I know you didn't get to watch it. So my question for you is, first of all, what did you think of his run? Was it wasted? And then do you think he could possibly jump ship and go to AEW?
All right. So to answer your first question, I don't think his run was wasted. because we were at a point years ago where, we would have never seen Edge again, almost too early, right? Actually, I believe it was too early. I'm not going to say almost, but we, got like this just amazing final run and a second chance that we never thought we would get to see for that closure. And I thought that WWE handled it perfectly well. Now, I will say, there wasn't a world title reign in there. And, I would have liked to seen something along those lines. But at the end of the day, I do believe that, they still utilized him effectively. And I do like how, it's weird that Sheamus, I never would have thought Sheamus as a final opponent, but they did some good storytelling and actually blurred the lines a little. And I will say, I don't think it's coincidence that they were in Toronto. WWE is such a well-oiled machine. They probably had that trip routed out and planned and talked to Edge. But I love the fact that I think they did utilize him appropriately, and they didn't push him too hard and make him do anything too crazy to jeopardize any of his health concerns that still may be there. But I think, that he did have a good balance approach. They teamed him up with Beth Phoenix initially and had some runs there just to kind of make sure things were good. And so, to answer your first question, I do think they used it well. Is that how you feel?
Looking back, and I asked this question on Twitter, I took a picture I found the picture with Edge with the WWE title, and I was like, should this have happened, during Edge's last, this last run? And I think they did a really good job. Like I enjoyed his feuds, but I think when we look back on this, I do think like this will be one of those things where this was something that was hindered because of the Tribal Chiefs push. And in the end, should they put, should they have had Brock win the title? Should it have been, it's like, I do feel like Edge should have been a world champion, especially if he's coming back, and again, he chose WWE over AEW. And I guess maybe that wasn't a hard decision, but to me, like at the end of the day, he could have went to AEW. And, and that would have been a big blow to WWE. So I feel like as a thank you, they should have put a world title on him. That's just my opinion, because at the end of the day, he stayed loyal for now, and he could have left to go with his best friend Christian to AEW, but he didn't. And, and again, maybe he wanted to do it here. I mean, I get, I see his retirement was a tough pill to swallow. And then maybe, this was the second chance to come back and do it right. And I do think it does say something that, that you don't need a title and he is above that. But at the same time, I think that if he would have been a world champion during this time, it could have eased the blow of seeing Roman have the belt for 3 years. Cause that's a feel good story. Like the Big E story was. And even that ended abruptly because they had to put the title on Brock. But I think that he should have been champion. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's use what you just said there about the AEW transition because, I do believe that he did make the right choice going back to WWE because if he would have went straight to AEW right away, it would have been just another guy going over there and people would have criticized, oh, well, he's well past his prime. But the fact that WWE still kind of pushed him at a high level without being champion, I feel like that does say, oh, he's still good. He's still worth it. And now if he makes that transition, it doesn't look like a guy just jumping ship or trying to live in his past. He's still a current superstar that now is making a choice. And so this leads into your second question about going into AEW and do I think he will? I don't know if there's anything written up or talks, etc. But I do think there is an itch for him and Christian to have a final tag team match. And I don't know how long Christian's contract is there. And so I kind of wonder if they will try to work something out for a special pay-per-view. My instinct tells me no, but I mean, I could easily be convinced that it would go that route. It would not be unreal for me to think of. What about you?
So one of the things that we talked about, I think it was in our space, one of our Twitter spaces was like, I'm really fascinated by the year 2024 because even like the next coming months up, because Endeavor, has had the long standing with the UFC, that in all, like they don't pay the UFC fighters very well for what they bring, for what the amount of money they have. And they're all about cutting costs. And so I think it's going to be interesting to, and the thing about WWE is they've done a good job of like, I feel like even like now, like it's more about the brand than it is the superstars. Like WrestleMania sells itself on WrestleMania. It's not even about the superstars that are going to be there. Like the people watch Raw because it's WWE Raw. It's not even about, even though they'll tout, Roman Reigns with SmackDown, I'm the guy. It's like, it's more about the brand. So I'm interested to see, like, I think AEW is going to get I think they're going to get $1 billion television rights deal for 5 years. And I think, when Tony Khan has that kind of cheddar, that's not coming out of his pocket anymore. I think it's gonna be a chance to sign a lot of wrestlers, and I think it's also with Tony Khan. These guys get to end their career on the right way that they want to end it on. So, I think it's gonna be tempting for him to go over there. Because I tell people too, like when WWE found out Christian could wrestle, they didn't want him, and so he went to AEW. So I think it's going to happen. I do. I think it's going to happen. I think you'll see Adam Copeland in AEW. And again, I think because I don't think WWE is going to be paying people in the outgo as much as they should. And I think that, I think he's going to go. I think if he was going to stay with WWE, you already heard that he signed a new contract and he didn't. And so I think we're going to see him in AEW. Yeah, I really do.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting perspective, and you're bringing up some good points there. It's interesting with, I forget who it was telling me with, the transitioning piece. Now, I'm not sure with Edge, because I know Christian could use his Christian name, right?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if he owns the rights, because I know that was late 90s, so I know they didn't lock them up as much. I don't know if he can use the Edge name, kind of like how Sting can use it wherever he goes, that kind of thing, or if he would have to be Adam Copeland. But that would be an interesting perspective. I think the feuds would be fun. I would love to see the Young Bucks, of course, with them. Maybe a final retirement match with the Hardys. I think that there's gas in that tank. I think nostalgia alone fuels it, and so I think there's some fun matches to watch in that. And I don't know, does Edge want to come back for just maybe a 3-month stint and just hit like 3 nice solid matches, or does he want to just do one big final one?
And again, I think maybe even a year, or why not? Like come back, do all the pay-per-views. Because even to me, like I think as wrestling fans, like we always like want to like hear like oh what did he say? And the one thing that I caught that he said, because he did a speech at the end of his thing in Toronto, and he just said, "This will be the last time you see me here. This will be the last time you see me in a WWE ring." But the thing that he said was, "I can't go 30 minutes in a singles match anymore." And to me, I was like, he can't do singles matches like this anymore, but could he still do tag team matches? So I just kind of, for me, I looked at that as a nice little Easter egg, and so I'm interested to see if anything's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Time will tell. I definitely feel like it's going to have to be a big pay-per-view build up, but I mean, again, I think there is still gas that could be done. Do we want to transition over to NXT?
I have one more question for you that just popped into my head about that. So now looking back on this, should Finn Balor have gone over at WrestleMania instead of Edge?
I'm going to say yes. I believe he should have. And again, I feel like that, and not because that ruined my WrestleMania perfect streak.
Right, it did.
I mean, it is selfish. I was like, that match hurt me, but in our competition. But ultimately, man, I felt like, especially with Finn competing for a new world title with Seth and all that, I think it would have meant more if he would have won that match. And I know there was complications in that match, and I know they had to stop a Hell in a Cell match because of blood. We won't get into all that, but ultimately, so I'm going to say yes. How about you?
Oh, I'm definitely in agreement there too. Like, to me, yeah, it should have, especially if Edge knew he wasn't going to be signing a new contract. If he had to know, like, his matches were few and far between. Like, it should have been Finn Balor that went over, especially when he was the demon character. It could have been a big win for him, and I definitely agree. Like, looking back now, he should have done the favors for Finn, and then the demon character should definitely win over, especially like you said, going into world title picture. Yeah, should have happened for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing with Finn is, he's there for a little longer. That would have just paid it forward a little bit, and I think there was just a good opportunity to kind of hand some growth over there, kind of like what Taker did for Lesnar, even though I didn't like that either. But it did pay off. It did. So, all right, very cool. Want to go to NXT now?
Yeah, so we're going to transition now. So this Tuesday we have NXT Heatwave coming up, and something that we've been doing, kind of a tradition with our podcast and with our teammates and stuff like that, as we're doing prediction shows. So we're going to go ahead and give our predictions for NXT Heatwave. So let's start with the undercard. So the first matchup we have is Nathan Frazier versus Noam Dar. This is going to be for the Heritage Cup. So my question for you is, what have you thought about their work in general lately, and then who are you taking in this match?
Yeah, I felt like this is definitely, their work is fine. It's given us what it should be, right? This isn't main event. This is not the big, headliner. That's not for a title other than that Heritage World Cup. But ultimately, I think it serves its purpose as a mid or undercard match. Two guys that are working their skills, and they're telling a little story there with the cup. So I do like, what I see so far. Right now, are we doing our picks, or do we want to let them know our teammates' picks first?
So I'll go ahead and say, so we didn't get any from John, which was kind of a shocker to me, from Will, because Will loves NXT, and so I was kind of shocked that he didn't give us picks. But Heather and John both picked Nathan Frazier.
Okay, so did you say John didn't give picks?
No, Will didn't.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because then that's a forfeit, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, well, I guess, I'm kind of shocked, because again, Will's always had, Will's been like the flag bearer for NXT. So I was kind of shocked that he didn't give him, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Let me, so who did you go with?
I'm going to ask you who you're picking first, and I'll give you mine.
Okay. We want to alternate then?
Yeah.
All right. I'm looking. I was making sure that Will didn't send his in. Yeah, I don't see any. All right. So I'm going to go with Noam Dar. I feel like that cup kind of belongs to him. While they were feuding for this cup back and forth, I don't feel like this is one of those moments where the face gets the nice big victory win. And the other half of it is, what's he going to do with it? I look at Noam Dar, this World Heritage Cup for him is kind of like the brass ring for, or the diamond ring for MJF, or it's the $1 million belt for the $1 Million Man. What's anybody else going to do with it at this point? So I am going to say Noam Dar does take this.
So I'm going to give you kudos, because I was feeling Nathan Frazier, but you just convinced me. I like your point of view. I like the comparison to the MJF ring. So I'm going to go Noam Dar, and then I'm also going to take it one step further. And I'm going to say that I hope that with this win that he retires the Heritage Cup, and that he gets to retire it and it just goes away, because to me, it doesn't serve a purpose for me anymore with NXT. I would like to see him just kind of have it be his prop, and maybe he only defends it once a year or whatever, because it's just kind of different to me. It feels like an NXT Europe thing, that something they should take to NXT Europe whenever that gets done. So I'm going to go for Noam Dar, and also hope that with it, he retires the cup and doesn't defend it anymore. It's just his.
I like that idea. I just had a fun storyline that popped in my head. I almost want to see an extremely over face, and maybe you can give me a wrestler that would fit this. That if they were to feud over this cup, I think a feud should be based around somebody peeing in the cup in his locker room, like just taking a whiz in it, right? And I don't know who that would be that would do that, but I think that would be a great backstage. We're not watching locker segment, and then maybe later we make Noam Dar drink from the cup and do this whole, victory. I drink wine from the cup after every match, and then we find that out. I think that'd be fun. But what wrestler came to mind when I gave that?
I think why not Trick Williams?
I like that. Kind of nobody obvious, but yet, somebody that would get a little grimy and do that.
I think him or even Tony D'Angelo would be a good one too.
Tony D would be fun. Yeah, it's something that popped in my head. I was like, oh, that'd be hilarious to do. But all right. So we are aligned on Noam Dar. And let's move ahead. I'm glad I was able to sway you a little bit. So
yeah, he did. So the next match we have is Ilya Dragunov versus Trick Williams. So again, this is an interesting match for me. I like the build up to this match. Again, it's just kind of it was a good way to get Trick Williams away from Ilya Dragunov. Again, this is an interesting match because to me, I feel like they both really need the win. I mean, this is kind of like Trick's really first singles match on his own, away from Trick, and then you're also going to have Ilya Dragunov, who just came off a couple of big losses. Well, he a big loss to Carmelo, so that's almost like a thing of who needs to win more. And with that being said, I'm going to go with Ilya Dragunov. I just think that he needs a win to reestablish himself. I think that Trick could get the win back later on, but then maybe this sends Trick into a way of trying to work harder to get the singles victory. But I'm going to go with Ilya Dragunov. Who do you have? And then also Heather and John both pick Ilya Dragunov as well.
Wow. Okay, so everybody's going Dragunov. For me, I got to agree with you. It's great minds think alike. This match is kind of important for both because you got Dragunov coming off of a PLE feud for the title and with Carmelo, and then you have Trick, who looks like he's on the rise to maybe go against his mentor / partner there. And it's interesting because this could be boom or bust for Trick, but you almost can't have Dragunov take 2 losses on a PLE that close to each other without hurting his wind a little bit. So it's tough because, okay, are we going to move Dragunov to the main roster? If so, argument could be made for Trick to take the win, knowing that Dragunov is moving on up. And, the WWE likes to pretend that whatever happened in NXT didn't happen sometimes. And the other half is, it's a recovery thing, like you said. And so for that purpose, I think Dragunov is hanging out there for a little bit more. And I am going to go with him getting a win over Trick Williams. It's not a decision I make easily, but I am going to go with him because I just think he needs to recover. And I think, Trick Williams is the serum to his healing.
Sounds good. So we're all on Dragunov. So the next match we have, and again, it's not happening on Come Tuesday, but it's Von Wagner versus Baron Corbin. Again, I don't know. I feel like for some people they might call this a bathroom break match, but again, I think to me, you got to see what you have with Von Wagner, and obviously it's somebody that Vince has liked for a long time, and they have a lot of trust in Baron Corbin. So I think it's time to see, if this matchup, see if Von Wagner can step up, and I think Baron Corbin's the first guy. I like Baron Corbin a lot. I think he's somebody who's underappreciated by a lot of fans. So with that said, Heather and John again. Heather and John they picked the exact people to win all these matches. But they both pick Von Wagner. And so who do you got in this matchup? And what's your kind of mindset going into picking your pick?
All right, for this one, well, okay. I just love a Baron Corbin match. Sarcasm is a sign of language. But now he's trying to explain that he's not a pirate, and he's like, "Oh, I'm burning the ship down." I'm like, "Whatever, you're a pirate." So, now you're just trying to get out of it. But when I see Von Wagner, for some reason, and I have no reason to justify this at all, he gives me a little bit of a like Hacksaw Jim Duggan vibes. Like, just I don't know if it's his look, like with he just has the build of his body, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, the guy had a legendary career, but he's definitely not carrying a USA flag in a 2x4. But ultimately, when I see this matchup, I feel like this matchup is meant to distract us from the real feud, and that's Gable Stevenson, right? And we were in this massive blood feud with Corbin and Stevenson, and then even Corbin said on Tuesday, "Oh, the last guy that and said, he's nowhere to be seen," which is a nice precursor to, okay, I think Gable Stevenson's getting involved in this. So with that being said, I think there's interference. I think Baron Corbin gets attacked by Gable Stevenson. So I guess that would count as a win for
Von Wagner.
So in a roundabout way, no, wait, if he attacks Corbin, that would give Corbin the win. right? By disqualification.
Unless the ref doesn't see it. So it depends on what you think is going to happen.
Well, that's
going to be because Von Wagner does have a manager outside to distract the referee.
That's true. So I kind of am going to go with Baron Corbin on this one, just because, one, I think Corbin kind of needs the win to continue his feud on. And I am going to say it's, just as a bonus, it's a Gable Stevenson related win.
All right. I like that one. So, and again, just good thought from you. Cause I didn't think about the Gable Stevenson thing coming in, but it kind of makes sense with Corbin talking all the smack. So you did pick Corbin, right?
Yeah, I did. Due to hook. They say hook or crook. I'm picking.
Gotcha.
Corbin.
Okay. So I'm gonna counter you. So I'm gonna go that Gable Stevenson gets involved, but he costs Corbin the win, and Von Wagner gets the win. I think at this point Corbin can eat losses and it won't matter, because he's one of those guys where, just like you had the bum Corbin, broke Corbin, you could have Corbin lose for a year straight, putting people over, and it's not going to harm anybody. And then he could go on a hot streak and win. So with that said, I'm gonna give the win to Von Wagner, because they need to see what they have in this guy, and I think for him it's kind of it's this time for him to kind of put up or shut up, and maybe he gets the win, then he gets to go up to the roster, because the interesting thing about both these guys is that they're both free agents, so this could play into anything. So with that said, I'm gonna just go with Von Wagner for the hell of it.
You realize what you just did, right?
What did I just do?
You just got out of the car. We were riding together all year round. Our picks are tied for the year, I believe.
Yeah.
We're tied in first. We're kind of leaving everybody in the dust. We're riding in the same car. It's a nice sports car, and you got out of the car over Von Wagner. I want to point that out.
It is.
and you chose him. He's on NXT Booty Call, and you chose Von Wagner. So I think you got a Von Wagner man crush. You left your Ted partner over.
I actually find Corbin kind of sexy. So it's kind of, now you're just breaking my whole world down, because I'm like, I didn't pick Corbin. Damn, that little bald Mr. Clean. Now I'm like, my whole world's been destroyed by you. Thank you for that. So our next match, go ahead. Oh, so we're gonna say something?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So for the next match, again, this is the Judgment Day rub on NXT. So we're gonna have, my Latino tribal chief, Dominic Mysterio, Dirty Dom, and Rhea versus Dragon Lee and Laya Valkyrie. Again, I'm interested in this match, but to me, if you're gonna have this match, I just wish that Dragon Lee and Valkyrie were being built up better, because all I've seen them do is take L's lately, and now I'm supposed to believe that they're gonna beat Dominic and Rhea. So with that said, my pick's pretty easy. I'm gonna go Judgment Day with this one. What are your thoughts? And then also, just for the record, Heather and John both picked Judgment Day as well.
Yeah, we're back in the car on this one. I'm taking Judgment Day.
You let me back in. Thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I'm in the back seat though now.
Yeah, you stuck your thumb out and hitched and slowed back down. So yeah,
I bought the right snacks, so you let me back in. All right.
I was like, oh, he's got paydays and Snickers. All right, so right. Yeah, we're easy on that one. Cool.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that they are mixing it up with doing a mixed tag, and I think I believe in Dragon Lee and Valkyrie a lot. But with that said, they should have been getting more wins. Like, Dragon Lee should be the Heritage Cup owner right now, and let's not even go into that. And then Valkyrie, she just took too many losses lately. So I do hope. I mean, again. And again, if it doesn't, I just don't see Judgment Day giving them the rub, unless that means Dominic's going to be losing the NXT title to Dragon Lee. But I'm going to stick with my pick, so I'm going to go Judgment Day. So with that, we got the main event. Actually, before we get to that, I want to just ask you a quick thought, since you did watch NXT, and sorry to backtrack. What did you think about them finally letting Mustafa Ali go off with this character that he was supposed to do on Raw years ago?
They got to get me vested back into it. I don't think much about it, because, I hate to say it, I've gotten bored with Mustafa Ali. I was very into him. This guy's exciting. Oh, this is fun to watch. And then, and I even, followed it with some of the gimmick changes and him being even over the faction he was over. What was that name? I can't even remember. They were bringing out chainsaws and cutting up the ropes, and
yeah, I forget the name.
he was the hidden, guy behind it. And I was like, okay, that's cool, fine. But right now I'm kind of over Mustafa Ali. Now, again, he might do something to grab me back into it, but I don't think too much about that. Also, I wanted to remind us, I believe we have Ivy Nile and Ava Rain also on this card coming up.
Are they?
I seen it as for August 22nd.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't see that one. Where did you see it at?
It was online. Let me try to get a confirmation. Do you want to give your thoughts on Mustafa Ali?
Yeah, sure. So, again, to me, like, I mean, and the reason I'm excited for this, like, to me, like, I feel like Mustafa Ali has been one of those guys that has been hindered by Vince McMahon. Again, this is a guy that was before everything Kofi Mania happened. He was supposed to be fighting for the title at WrestleMania, and then before he got injured, and then now it's like he's been lingered with all these just stops and goes and everything else. So I'm excited for him to see if he's going to make this work. At least I'm glad that he's been given this platform with NXT to see if he can make this gimmick work, because if it's something that he believes in, let him take the shot, and if he gets it over, there's no harm, no foul. But I think in this era where our country is so politically divided, I think kind of doing a character that's kind of pulling at that, I think it's smart, and I'm interested to see where he takes it.
Yeah, I do like that take, especially with the blurring the lines with the political divide. I do like that take a lot. Hey, I did double check with a quick Google search and a Wikipedia search. They do have Ivy Nile versus Ava Rain.
Okay. So with this said, I wasn't aware of this match. So Heather and John didn't get these picks in. So we'll just do this one as a fun one for ourselves.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that being said, I'm gonna go with Ivy Nile, because I think this will be an opportunity where we see the Creed brothers show themselves, and they'll help Ivy Nile pick up the win.
Okay. And since it's just for fun, I won't give too much thought into it, but I'll take Ava Rain. Maybe she's got some political power influence with being Rock's daughter.
Is this where The Rock finally comes back? No,
oh my God. Yeah. He's going to come back and
help his daughter
to take on, all the undercards of the next so, you know what? I don't even know if he's going to watch this match,
right?
He does not. I hate
he'll have his publicist handle the PR for this one.
He'll just be like to his daughter, "Oh, hey, tell me how it goes,"
Right.
But ultimately, for fun, I'll take Ava Rain. So let's
all right, sounds good.
Moving to our main event.
So for our main event, we have Carmelo Hayes versus Wes Lee. And again, this is, to me, like, this is almost like Dusty's kids going to battle, because these are two Shawn. These are like Shawn Michaels. I feel like his two students. Especially when you consider what Shawn Michaels was undersized wrestler, and he had to fight up to kind of be taken as a main eventer so long. So I feel like with both these guys, these are two wrestlers that have kind of they have been given the reins with Shawn Michaels, and there's two guys that he's really got behind. So I think it's interesting that they're kind of fighting now, and kind of being kind of thrown into this main event. And I like Wes Lee's, and I don't really say call it a heel, but just kind of like almost like a kayfabe, just kind of taking this seriously. I liked when this week when he grabbed the table and was like, "No, you're coming out to meet me in the ring." I just kind of like that he kind of got his balls. I guess that's kind of a way to put it. And he's kind of being more of a badass, badass with this feud. So is it my prediction first or yours first with this one?
Let's see. I think the last one before Ivy Rain was Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And so you went first. So I believe this will be me.
All right. So give your thoughts. Who
did our teammates pick?
So they both picked Carmelo.
Okay. So for this match, and it's so weird because I believe that these two, I think this match is a little bit bigger than just Heatwave. I felt like this should be like a stand and deliver type match.
Next year. Yeah.
These two are just, I don't get drawn in by everybody in NXT or therefore on Raw or SmackDown. That's just wrestling, right? But I get drawn in by these two. And it's weird because of their dynamic. I like Wes Lee better as a wrestler, but I like Carmelo Hayes better as a character. And I know that might sound weird, right? But I think that Carmelo Hayes has more main event potential than Wes Lee. Even though I like Wes Lee's just in-ring work and he draws me in, and I think he's won me over because he's done so much with so little, and nobody ever would have had him at this level. So he's just that great story. But I ultimately, long-term predicting the future, I see, and I could be wrong 5 years from now, I do see both of these guys being around, but I see Wes Lee being, I think he's built for the tag team. And I've said, I have this dream tag team of him and Ricochet just being this team, and a legit team with a team name, call them High Impact, whatever you want to call them. Right. But ultimately Carmelo Hayes, I feel, is going to be built for the main event, scene for years to come. If not, or at least a low main event Carter. Right. So with this being said, my picks, I'm going to take Carmelo Hayes because I feel like he is the face of NXT for a very long time. I don't think they pull him up to the main roster anytime soon. I don't see him losing this title anytime soon. And I do, however, feel like they're going to move Wes Lee up to the main card before Carmelo Hayes because they're getting Carmelo Hayes ready for something more than a mid-card or tag team setting. And so I feel like they want to just groom that a little bit more. So that's my pick. On this one, I probably went a little out of the box with it, but I am going to go with Carmelo Hayes to keep the title.
All right. And just really quick. So John, our partner, he texted me and he picked Ava Rain for the women's match. So we'll just get that out there really quick. So again, I guess I'm going to take an Uber home because for everything that you just said, I agree with you on that, but I'm taking it somewhere else. So I think it's going to be Wes Lee winning this match. And the reason why is because this match should have been at Stand and Deliver. This was like your next big main event match, for their WrestleMania. So to me, I feel like this match wouldn't be happening right now if they weren't going to be calling one of these guys up. And with that being said, I think it's Carmelo that's going to get called up. I think Carmelo's going to get called up. Maybe they're going to put him with the new faction with the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. I'm going to take that educated guess with that. So I'm going to say Carmelo's moving up to the main roster to be with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, and Wes Lee's going to be the new champion of NXT.
Okay. So he is going to be the champion. He's winning the championship.
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel that there is any value of a Trick Williams versus Carmelo matchup for a championship? Do you feel like that could happen at any point?
I mean, it could be a blow up, but I don't think that's on Shawn Michaels' board. Like, oh my God, we got to get Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes. And I don't think that's a marquee matchup. And I think if you put the title on Wes Lee and you moved up Carmelo, I think you could easily have Wes Lee feeding with the heel Braun Breaker for the next 4 months, with Braun feeling like he's easy pickings, and Braun could go, and it can really, I think a Braun Wes Lee feud for the title could really lean into Braun being a badass heel, and he could go and he could break kayfabe and go into like Wes Lee thinking he was nothing, thinking he wasn't have anything, losing his tag team partner, everything that Wes Lee's already said is his truth. Braun Breaker as a heel could really feed into that, and I think it could be a really fun feud for the title.
Yeah, the other thing I want to kind of point out, just because you mentioned Shawn Michaels, your buddy Chad Frost.
Chad Frost, yeah.
Because it's him doing a lot of the booking, I think Trick Williams is Diesel vibes, right? Like Shawn Michaels Diesel. And again, I know Trick is not 7 foot 11-7, right? But ultimately, I almost see the Bodyguard getting a little bit of a push at the expense of the Shawn Michaels character. And something that popped in my head, I mean, maybe it goes the way you said as far as Wes Lee winning the title, but with the help of Trick Williams. I mean, there's so many ways that you could go about it. But I did want to throw that out there since you mentioned Shawn Michaels and it popped in my head. So yeah, good takes, guys, on it. Yeah,
and I mean, and again, maybe it is Trick Williams that helps Wes Lee win, and then maybe we do get that, maybe we do get that feud with Carmelo putting over. Maybe Carmelo puts over Trick one last time before he leaves to the main roster. But I just, like I said, to me, I just feel like we wouldn't be getting this matchup if somebody wasn't getting called up. Because to me, this is easily your main event for NXT Stand and Deliver. So I feel like we're getting this match too early for a reason, and that's my final take on that.
No, it's a good one. And I believe that's going to be our final segment of the day, but we do want to do some shout outs and, kind of give some quick call outs to everybody. Do you want to go first?
So if you guys see this, join us tomorrow at 7:00. We'll be back on Twitter Space at 7:00 Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. We do a watch along for the last hour of Raw. We'll also just be kind of discussing in general. It's what we like to consider ourselves a positive influence, positive, being in the IWC internet wrestling community. And, it's a place to come talk about your takes like today. We're not going to troll you, not going to laugh at you. It's somewhere to just come and, have a voice in wrestling. So just please consider joining us tomorrow. And then again, just shout out to our other partners, wishing John safe travels home as he's getting back from his trip. Wishing William, hope that he's getting some good me time into his busy schedule. And to our other tag team partner, Heather, who's currently in the hospital, just hoping that she's going to be okay. And just a general shout out to anyone who supports us. My mind, I was kind of busy, so I didn't really get to, but just all of our supporters out there to the Sage Up Network, we're proud to be part of you guys. Just thank you guys for believing in us. Thank you guys for supporting us. And we hope to keep doing you guys proud. Thank you. That's all I got.
Yeah, and for me, I'm going to mirror the same thing you said. Also want to thank Sage and the Sage Out Network, who partners with us each and every day out in Twitter X. And also check us out at thefansofprowrestling.com. And again, on Twitter /X, I'm at the Bryan Adkins.
And Carlos, I'm at
that's
C to the LOS, and then also at Conquer the No. And you can also find me on Instagram at @RainbowGoodness_. But yeah, that's all we got for you guys. So we'll be back. We'll be back on Monday at 7:00, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific for our Twitter Space, and we'll be back for Tuesday night as well with the Tuesday night takedown. We'll talk about AEW.
All right, thanks guys. Have a good one.
Thanks guys. Have a good day.